After that night, the night I told them to kick me out, everything at home became a quiet war. Not the kind with shouting and slammed doors, though there was some of that too, but the kind where every gesture has a hidden meaning. My parents would smile at me, but their eyes stayed cold. They'd make family plans without asking and announce them like commands. We're going to your sister's recital this weekend. You'll be there. We're visiting Grandma on Sunday. Cancel whatever you have. I'd nod, because what else could I do? Each time I tried to protest, it turned into another lecture about gratitude, sacrifice, and how I was lucky compared to kids who had no family at all. I'd sit at the table, listening to my dad list all the things he and my mum had done for me, and feel my face go blank. I didn't even argue anymore. It's a strange feeling watching yourself fade from your own life. I'd go to school and feel like I was wearing a mask. Teachers would ask about college applications, and I'd shrug. Friends would talk about weekend plans, and I'd smile like I might come, knowing I wouldn't. When people asked why, I'd give excuses. Homework, family stuff, not feeling well. After a while, they stopped asking, but even in the middle of all that, I started noticing something unexpected. The more my parents tried to lock me into their idea of family first, the clearer my own ideas about family became. Not the version my parents preached, but the version I wanted. It hit me one afternoon when my sister came into my room, violin case in hand. She sat on the edge of my bed, staring at the floor. "They're making you go to my recital, right?" she asked softly. I nodded. I didn't want them to. I looked at her, surprised. She rarely talked about this stuff. "Why not?" I asked. She shrugged. "Because you don't like it, and it's supposed to be my thing." Her words sat between us like a small, glowing truth. She understood. Maybe not everything, but enough. She wanted her own things too. She didn't want me forced into them any more than I wanted her forced into mine. "I don't hate you," I said quietly. She looked up at me, startled. I know, and in that moment, something shifted. It wasn't forgiveness for my parents or a magical fix to our life, but it was a crack in the wall. A glimpse of the fact that my siblings weren't the enemy, and maybe, just maybe, they felt trapped too. Later, my brother knocked on my door. He had a sketch pad under his arm. "They said, you're mad at me," he blurted out. "I'm not mad at you," I said. He looked at me skeptically. "Then why don't you want me in your stuff?" I hesitated. "Because sometimes I want to do things by myself. Don't you?" He frowned. "Yeah, then you get it." He didn't answer, but he didn't look angry either. He sat on the floor and started drawing, and I watched him in silence. For the first time, I saw him not as someone my parents were using to cage me, but as a kid stuck in his own cage too. That night, lying in bed, I thought about all the times I'd imagined running away, all the times I'd wished my siblings would disappear from my activities. It wasn't really them I wanted to escape. It was the rules, the suffocating version of family my parents had built. I started to plan on an escape, but a future. In the notebook under my mattress, I wrote down every college I could think of that was far enough away to feel like a new world. I wrote down clubs I wanted to try: boxing, swimming, photography, cooking, maybe even writing for the school paper. I wrote a sentence at the bottom of the page: "I will have my own life." The more I wrote, the more the fog in my head started to lift. I couldn't change my parents. I couldn't make them see me. But I could hold on to the idea of myself beyond this house. Things at home didn't magically improve. My parents still made rules. They still called me ungrateful. They still said I was hurting my siblings. But I started to respond differently. When they lectured me about quitting activities, I didn't argue. When they forced me to attend something, I went quietly, but with a part of me already somewhere else, in a future I was building in my mind. I began to see tiny victories. I started spending more time in the library after school, saying I needed to study. They didn't like it at first, but couldn't really object. In the library, I wrote in my notebook. I even started reading books about photography and cooking again, quietly teaching myself. It was small, but it was mine. One day, a teacher asked me to help set up a display for the school's art show. I hesitated, waiting for my automatic "I can't" to come out. But then I said yes. I stayed late that day, arranging photos and drawings on the walls. When I stepped back to look at the finished display, something inside me glowed. No siblings, no parents, just me doing something I cared about. I didn't tell my parents. It felt like a secret, like my notebook, like the first brick in a road out. I know I'm still stuck for now. I know there will be more family days, more lectures, more lost invitations, but I also know I'm not broken. I'm not selfish. I'm not a brat. I'm a 16-year-old who wants a life of his own. Sometimes at night, when the house is quiet, I imagine myself a few years from now. I'm at college, walking across a campus with my camera slung over my shoulder. I'm heading to boxing practice, or maybe to the kitchen of a student-run cafe where I help cook meals. My siblings are living their lives, to my sister playing her violin in some orchestra, my brother sketching comic books. We see each other on holidays, by choice, not by force. We talk like real people, not like prisoners in the same cell. I don't know if it will happen exactly like that, but just imagining it makes the walls of my room feel a little less close. The other night, I wrote another sentence in my notebook. Family can mean closeness without cages. I think about that a lot. I think about how my parents believe they're protecting us, but really they're building walls. I think about how, one day, I'll build something different. I'm 16. I have a younger sister and a younger brother, and they're both on the autism spectrum. My parents think we're not close because I'm able, but the truth is, I don't want everything to be something we do together. I want a life that's mine, and I've finally stopped feeling guilty for wanting that. It's not a perfect ending. It's not a movie where everything resolves, but it's a beginning, a small, secret beginning, and for now, that's enough to keep me going. The first time I realized I was actually angry, really, deep down angry, wasn't during some huge blow-up. It was during a small, quiet moment. I was sitting in the community center's kitchen classroom, a row of silver counters between me and the instructor, the smell of chopped garlic and onions rising from the pan. I had signed up for a free Saturday cooking course. My mom had nodded when I told her, even smiled a little, and for a whole week, I thought maybe, just maybe, this would finally be mine. By the third class, my sister was at the counter next to me, staring at a recipe sheet she didn't want to follow. By the fourth class, my brother was on the other side, fiddling with a peeler he didn't know how to use. My parents stood at the door, watching proudly like this was some family event they'd planned all along. I could feel my throat tightening, my pulse in my ears. It was supposed to be mine, and it was gone. I started seeing patterns everywhere. It wasn't just the activities. It was the way my parents scheduled our weekends without asking. The way they'd show up at school to pull me out early for family errands. The way my friends stopped asking me to hang out because they knew the answer. The way they'd remind me every time family comes first. Like a song on repeat, I tried not to explode. I tried talking first. One evening after dinner, I asked if we could sit down and just talk. My parents looked at each other warily, but agreed. My siblings were in the living room playing quietly, and for once it felt like maybe they'd actually listen. I told them I was grateful for my family. I told them I didn't hate my siblings. I just wanted one activity, just one that was mine alone. I wanted to be able to keep my word to my friends. I wanted them to stop RSVPing for me without telling me. I didn't even finish. My mum's eyes filled with tears, and she said, "Do you know how lucky you are to have siblings who love you?" My dad's voice grew sharp. "You're acting selfish," he said. "You're old enough to understand your brother and sister need you. This is a family, not a hotel." I sat there, stunned. It was like they'd taken my careful words and turned them inside out. My mum reached across the table and grabbed my hand. "They look up to you," she whispered. "You're hurting them." That was the night I realized I couldn't win. No matter how calmly I explained, no matter how many examples I gave, they would always hear me as a villain. The more I tried, the more they doubled down. So I started shutting down. My friends would text and I wouldn't answer. Not because I didn't care, but because it hurt too much to say I can't. I stopped asking to go places. I stopped looking at flyers for clubs at school. My world shrank to school, home, and the occasional awkward family outing where we'd all sit in a restaurant and my parents would beam like they were doing something noble. But the anger didn't go away. It simmered. It grew. I remember one night standing in the bathroom with the door locked, my phone on the counter. I was staring at a text from a friend who had invited me to a birthday party. I'd said yes weeks ago. My parents had said yes. That day, an hour before I was supposed to leave, they'd said family day. They'd taken my phone before I could even tell him. Now I had it back, and there were 5 missed calls and 2 angry texts. "Why didn't you come? You could have at least told me." I sank to the floor, the tile cold under my legs, and just stared at the messages until they blurred. It's strange how quickly you start to believe you're the problem, that you're broken, that maybe you're the selfish one, like they say. I started thinking in circles. If my siblings need me, if my parents say this is love, then why does it feel like punishment? Why do I feel invisible? The breaking point came with photography. It was my friend's idea. We'd go to the community center on Thursdays after school, borrow the old cameras they had, and learn the basics. We'd walk around the park, snapping pictures of trees and street signs, laughing when we messed up the settings. For 2 weeks, it was mine. My brother showed up the 3rd week. My parents called it so sweet that he wanted to join me. I felt something inside me crack. I quit the next day. I didn't even tell my friend in person. I just stopped showing up. He texted me once, "You okay?" I didn't answer. He stopped texting after that. The words my parents threw at me after each quitting started to blend together. "It looks bad. Colleges don't like quitters. People would kill for a family like ours. You're being a bully. You're hurting them. You're a brat." It became a chorus. I would lie awake at night, staring at the ceiling, and hear those phrases like a song. One evening after dinner, my dad said, "You're not doing anything with your life. No extracurriculars, no clubs. "You're going to regret this." Something in me snapped. I said, "Then kick me out. It'd be better than this." The room went silent. My sister's fork clattered to the plate. My mum's eyes went wide. My dad's face darkened. "Don't talk like that," he hissed. "You don't know how good you have it." From that night on, the rules changed. They said I couldn't do anything with friends or go anywhere without my siblings or the whole family. They called it protective, but it felt like a cage slamming shut. The irony is, the more they tightened their grip, the more I pulled inward. I stopped talking at dinner. I stopped sharing anything about school. I started spending hours in my room just staring at the ceiling, trying to imagine a future. Sometimes I'd picture myself at college, somewhere far away where no one knew me as the big brother. I'd join a club, maybe boxing again, maybe swimming, maybe something new like film. I'd walk in and no one would follow me. I'd sit down and no one would say, "Is your brother here too?" I'd be a person, not a chaperone. Other times I'd imagine running away, though I never did. I'd imagine packing a bag, slipping out the back door at night, and just walking until I found somewhere quiet. But then I'd think of my sister's confused face, my brother's awkward laugh, and guilt would flood in. Because despite everything, I don't hate them. I just hate the way my parents use them like a shield, like an excuse. There are moments, tiny ones, where I see glimpses of who I could be. When I'm at school working on a project and a teacher says I'm talented. When a classmate laughs at my joke and for a second I feel normal. When I sit in the library and sketch in the margins of my notebook, just for me. Those moments keep me from going numb. But at home, it's like walking on a tightrope. If I'm quiet, they say I'm sulking. If I speak up, they say I'm attacking. If I try to carve out space, they close the door. I've started writing things down in a notebook hidden under my mattress. Things I can't say out loud. Stories about what it would feel like to have my own life. Sometimes I write in first person. Sometimes I make up characters. Sometimes I just write sentences like, "I want to be free," over and over. It's the only place I don't feel watched. Maybe that's my first real extracurricular. My first real outlet. Writing in secret. It's not photography or cooking or boxing, but it's mine. For now at least. I don't know how this ends. I don't know if my parents will ever understand, or if they'll just keep doubling down until I leave. But I know this, I'm not a brat. I'm not a bully. I'm not selfish for wanting something that's mine. I'm a 16-year-old trying to breathe in a house that keeps closing in. I'm 16, but most days it feels like I'm living someone else's life. Like I'm a supporting character in a story where the main plot revolves around my family's version of togetherness. My parents have always said the same words as if they're sacred. Family comes first. No excuses. It's their mantra, our house's background noise. It doesn't matter if I've made plans. It doesn't matter if I've been waiting for something for weeks if they decide. We're doing a family day or a sibling day. Everything else is wiped off the board. When I was younger, I thought that was normal. Other kids complained about their parents being strict, but mine had a way of making even simple fun feel like an obligation. I have a younger sister, 14, and a younger brother, 12. Both are on the autism spectrum. My parents talk about that constantly, about how important it is that we stick together so my siblings never feel left out or different. On the surface, it sounds noble. It sounds like a story you'd hear in a motivational video online this big happy family, sacrificing for each other. But living inside of it is different. Living inside of it means never having a space that's mine. Some of my earliest memories of birthdays aren't of cake or presents, but of awkward phone calls I didn't make. My parents would RSVP to other kids' parties on my behalf. Then, on the day of, they'd say, "We're having a family day. You can go next time." Except next time didn't come. They wouldn't even tell the other parents I wasn't coming. I'd sit there in my room, holding a gift I'd picked out, and imagine the other kids at the party wondering why I hadn't shown up. Later, I'd get texts or angry looks at school, and their parents would stop inviting me. Some even said my family was weird or unreliable. I lost friends before I even had the chance to know them. Sometimes my parents would let me make plans with friends, even let them come over, and then, at the last minutes, send them away. They'd stand at the door with that polite but firm look, saying, "Sorry, plans changed." It's a sibling day. I'd be standing behind them, humiliated, watching my friend's face go from confusion to irritation. Some of them didn't even have rides home right away, and their parents would be angry at me, not my mom or dad. The older I got, the less my phone buzzed. Invitations dried up. People stopped trusting me. My sister has piano and violin lessons. My brother has drawing and painting classes. My parents spend real money on those, call them therapeutic outlets and investments in their future. When it comes to me, the rules shift. If it costs money, I have to share it. My parents never said it directly, but it happened every single time. I wanted to try boxing once. They signed me up. The first day, my brother was there way too young for the group, but somehow allowed in. I didn't want to spar with a kid, let alone my brother. I quit, then I tried swimming. They brought my sister along, not even in the same group, but always hovering during my time slot. My dad would fuss about us doing it together. I quit again. It started to feel like a pattern every time I reached for something of my own. It got swallowed by the family's version of fairness. I tried to talk to my parents about it once, thinking maybe they didn't realize what they were doing. I told them I wanted something just for me, an activity without my siblings. Their faces tightened like I'd said something offensive. They said it went against everything we believe as a family. They said I should want to include my siblings in everything, that it was wrong for me to be antisocial to them. My friend told me his family went to the community center where there were free activities. Nothing fancy, but at least it was something. I tried photography there. My brother joined a week later. I tried cooking. Both my siblings ended up in the class. I quit again. My parents got angry, said it looked bad for me to be 16 and stick with nothing, that it would close college doors. I told them I didn't care because I wanted something for me, not for me to babysit my siblings. They said I was unreasonable, that people would kill to have a family like mine. One night, I lost it. They were telling me again that I was being a bully, that my siblings would think I hated them. I said I didn't care what they all thought. I told them if my siblings could have things just for them, then I should get something too. I told them I was done trying because nothing would ever be for me. My mum's face went pale. My dad's voice got low and hard. They said my attitude was hurtful. I said they could kick me out if they didn't like it, that it sounded better than this. Since then, they've doubled down. Now I'm not allowed to do anything with friends or go anywhere without my siblings or the whole family. They said it's because I'm being a brat, a hurtful brat, and that it makes it worse. Every day feels like a punishment now. Like my world has shrunk to the size of our living room. I'm 16, but I feel like I'm already running out of time. College applications, scholarships, all those things teachers talk about there, right there. But I can't think about them because all I can think about is how I've never been allowed to just be me. How my parents' family first rule has turned into a cage, sometimes late at night. I try to picture a version of my life where I could do something without looking over my shoulder, without having to explain to anyone why I want it. I imagine having a friend over and actually keeping them over. I imagine showing up to a class and not seeing my brother or sister at the door. I imagine not feeling guilty for wanting that. But the guilt sits there anyway, because my parents have made sure of it. When I lie awake in bed, I try to figure out if I'm the bad guy like they say. Maybe I am able. Maybe I am selfish. But then I remember the look on my friend's face when my parents sent him away, or the way my boxing coach looked at me like he couldn't understand why I was quitting. I remember the invitations that stopped coming. And I think, no, I'm not the bad guy. I'm just a kid who wants something of his own. That thought keeps me going, even as my parents tighten the rules. Even as they tell me I'm ungrateful and a brat. It's like a tiny flicker of light inside me. The idea that one day I'll get out of this house and finally breathe. But for now, I'm here. I'm 16. And every day feels like another fight I didn't pick but somehow have to survive.